Okay, punters, we're back with part 2 of the Melbourne Punters show.
No, we're back with...
Oh, what about the punters?
What about the punters?
You say it best.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got something for the grumbling grunners who don't mind a sports bet. The netball season kicked off this weekend. From what I saw out of the first weekend, the team that you definitely want to keep on your side, I think they'll be covering a lot of lines until they get too high, are the New South Wales Swifts. That was my sporting highlight of last year, was their grand final loss. That was the most amazing game I've ever seen. They seem to be really fired up. They haven't lost too many. They're definitely the team to beat. And also the West Coast Fever, when they're at home, you want to be with them because that's a long road trip for them. So the netball normally works at good times. There's a Monday night game that's normally finishing as the rugby league starts. So normally that's my Monday evenings. So there's a little bit of a morsel there on the minor sports for the punters.
I was just going to say, yeah, once you get that, just before we go on, I just want to send a congratulations out to a good friend of the show, or friends of the show, Justin Griffiths from Beck. Little Jackson Thomas was born last night, and my wife and Beck were due on the same day. Jackson's arrived a little bit early, but and my wife's in an hospital. We don't know if ours is coming early or not, or things like that at the moment. So I had the privilege. I was in there with my wife last night, and Justin was in there, so I had the privilege of going down and meeting little Jackson in the special care area, and he's really smitten. Justin, he's fantastic. So congratulations, guys, and another little punter's born.
Yeah, there you go. Couldn't have to do a nice bloke on you, Griff.
Good young bloke in a hurry, young Jackson. You did just the 2 months early, so congratulations.
For the older viewers, he'll be a grandson of John H. Griffiths, who was the king of the ring, one of the famous Victorian bookmaker, and so he's got his grandson. So yeah, so another punter.
Yeah,
there we go.
Beautiful.
Hopefully he doesn't get barred and lose all interest in the game.
He'll already be on a blacklist.
Yeah, he's probably barred already. Potts, you've got some show and tell for us.
DK and I were talking about some books and stuff, and I thought, I'll bring them in and show the punters. Not only do I read these books, but you can see this. This is so Robbie once mentioned this book. It's called Fortune's Formula. It's an examination of the Kelly criteria. And Robbie mentioned on the show, so I thought I'd get onto Booktopia and order it online. And you can see it; she's pretty well worn. I've read through it, probably cover to cover 3 or 4 times. And I look up bits and it's fallen apart. So anyone that's not comfortable with their staking and wants to think more about it, that's a great book to read. This one's called Beating the Odds. It's about Alan Tripp really. And the thing that I really got out of it is the amount of times in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that Alan Tripp was completely cast. Now we sit here these days, and he's probably a billionaire. We've certainly got hundreds of millions, but there were times when he nearly had to do what Macy and Pollard had to do on the way to the races on Saturday.
Well, I think that's one of a few successful bookies and punters, and they said they went broke a couple of times, and I've been up and down. Yeah, I think it's a big learning curve to. So to see, that's what can happen if you can learn, and you only learn by losing, really.
And in a lot of cases, like that's how I tested whether I had the medal for it. Was if you're happy enough to get, like I can remember, and it was probably going back 10 years ago. Like I was betting in $5 and $10 units. Like I was betting nothing like I am now, that was the process. Like that's what the bank would allow me to bet. And you couldn't let the pride get in the way of betting any bigger than that, because that's the unit size that was determined by the size of your bank.
Well, there's a very good chapter in that Fortune's Formula about over betting. So, like, if you want to make a profit on the punt, you have to have an edge. Yeah. Okay, you're betting against a market percentage. Okay, so if you've got no edge on that market percentage, you're going to lose, right? But so if you've got an edge, that's fine. So if you turn up at a 2-up game and someone wants to bet you 2.10 about heads, that's good. But if you over bet that edge, you'll still go broke. So half the game's about identifying edges. The other half of the game is about staking correctly according to your bank and the level of that edge.
And I think that's the real skill, Pots. Often it's not so much like we can all find winners, but I think it's actually staking them correctly is the real art form in this game.
It's the biggest thing I've got to improve on for sure.
And I've spent a lot of time working on it, thinking about it, so I've got a good... But my weakness is I don't bet aggressively enough when there's a really good edge. The ones that come along every now and again, where there's a really good opportunity, I've got to really push myself to take better advantage of those. So, I mean, Tom Melbourne would have been a good example on Saturday. I marked it 5-1, and there it was at the death. You could lay it at odds on, and you know, for my punters that understand my scale of things, I got 10 units out of it, right? But I probably should have got 30 or 40, and I just didn't have the guts to do it. You know what I mean? Like the edge was, if I believed my prices, you know, even if I'm toning them down a bit to allow for the market, I thought there were really good reasons for marking that horse 5-1. I should have been more.
Just be nice if we were automated in here like the roadblocks, wouldn't it? The prizes are there. This is how much you get out of it. If there's that difference between evens and fives, and you don't have to get in your minds and oh, geez, if it wins, how much I'm going to do on this race now, just in case it does win, and I'm invested elsewhere, and I better not get that much out of it, and limit your exposure. Where how often does that come on? And on favourite in town to mark fives and evens. Beaten on the turn, of course.
Especially when you think there's really good reasons for marking your price. And the other part is I don't like recommending lays to my subscribers because it does. A lot of people that are just once a week punters, that laying horses isn't really their go. You know what I mean? So anyway.
Well, the other thing that's sort of an extension of that, Pods, and you know this as well, the purity of thought and often going with your first instincts. Because I managed to make a pig 0 or something on Saturday, didn't I? I rang Potts on Thursday or something and said I'm going to place lay Exosphere. But come Saturday, I've decided that it was a good idea to not place lay Exosphere. I'll win lay Exosphere and win lay Chautauqua and lost on the race. So rather than getting the absolute lot, which is what I should have done with my first thought, I've then overcomplicated it with a whole heap of extra information that really I didn't need. And I've managed to lose on the race and talk myself out of it because I'm half an imbecile.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah,
so it's just, world, every day.
That is what both Glenn and Mark said it quite a few times, is often that purity of thought, just taking that first look at it when you've got a clear mind, is you've got to have something really solid to take you off that, I reckon, and I didn't, and I've paid the price.
Yeah, you'll be better next time, Joby.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's it. And so I only bought 3 of these books in, but I've got more. I can bring more in down the track if anyone wants recommendations of books to read. So any of the viewers out there, if you've got good punting books that you've read, please Twitter us in or whatever you do, let us know. But this one's called Enemy Number 1. It's written by Patrick Veitch, who's a big punter in the UK, and it's basically a detailed version of how he took £10 million off the corporates in the UK. And he has a style of form assessment and targeting horses a lot like DK does, so I thought it'd be a really good one for DK. So there you go, mate. You have a look at that one.
Well, thanks,
and
mate.
when you finish reading it, we can have a chat about it on the show, mate.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be really interesting, mate.
Yeah,
I got some really good bits about it. About he had a really good chapter in there about how he fights through tough patches.
Right.
Yeah. And a really good chapter about the what's the right way of putting it? The philosophy or the psychology of being a really good punter. And he sort of says it's half of it's like the form analysis side, it's being a brain surgeon and really being methodical and doing that. But then when you find one you really like, his description is a mad axeman.
Mad axeman. So brain surgeon, mad axeman. Find his.
So a bit like Glenn's in the psychopath, you know what I mean? So that's thinking that through. I'm thinking about that's pushed me. I've got to be a bit more.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not mad enough, but
that does the same for me.
Yeah, that's what I think it's a worthwhile read. It's a bit dense in patches. He goes on, because you don't know the races because he's talking about races in England and stuff. But I still found most of it a good read. You've read it, haven't you, John?
I read it when I was in the UK, and Patrick was betting like at a restricted level, but at a level that made it still worthwhile him maintaining his account with the firm that I was working for at the time. So it really sort of, like, I think I read it in about 2 days because it was right down my alley interest wise, and plus he was doing the business with us, and that's a great book. And I know it's sort of been done to death, and I know Ralphie will back me up here is, but any of the Michael Lucas books, Moneyball, The Big Short, any of the Liar's Poker, any of those.
Michael Lewis, yeah.
Lewis, yeah. Michael Lucas is the bookie from Warner. That's right. If he did write a book, it would probably be very entertaining. But no, Michael, they're all brilliant. So I highly recommend them. And now that you've pulled these out, Pots, I'll go through. I've got a bit of a collection of them at home and see which ones I pulled out that I really enjoyed. But there was one, Pots, that you were mentioning that you found a little bit hard going, and I know you've read it.
I think I've hit the wall about
David Walsh.
David Walsh, yeah.
He's more interested in his fucking museum or whatever he wants to call it than anything.
I just wanted to get to the bits about Jelko, so I was just fast forward trying to find where's the Jelko bits. So interesting, mate. There's a bit, geez, this was tough going.
Yeah,
I was trying to get into this, but
I rarely start a book and not finish it, and that one I didn't even get close. It's fucking terrible.
So, because Pod's mentioned, he said before the show, he mentioned, I've got some books here. And I said, Pods, well, I try and write a little bit before I go to bed, but it normally doesn't take me long to fall asleep. He goes, well, don't lift up the David Walsh book because you'll be asleep in about 3 minutes.
Yeah. That's good for that purpose if you want it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I think that's been the general consensus that it's been tough going. The other one, the Bill Waterhouse book, I found reasonably entertaining too.
There's two angles on that. If you can find The Gambling Man, which is very hard to get because there was a court injunction brought out not long after it was first released, which has now been lifted, I think. But that was the original book written about Bill Waterhouse by Kevin Perkins.
That's right.
And that's a really good read.
I think I've got that.
Yeah, The Gambling Man's an absolute beauty. And then of course there's the Bill's own one.
Yeah,
which that's a good read too. You know,
yeah.
It sort of details the family history and a lot of his big Leviathan clashes with some of the big punters. Mm. But I mean, you still pick up things, reading stuff like from someone like Bill Waterhouse who survived in the game for so long. Yeah. About like when he was having bad runs and he felt like he was never going to win again.
Yeah.
Now, that's Bill Waterhouse. You know, so when he's saying that, it means if you're feeling like that, that's okay. It doesn't. Yeah. You sort of got to work your way through it and just have a good process, do the right things, and if you're doing the right things and you're betting to an edge, it'll come good.
Yeah, well, but when you're halfway through it, or when you're getting the bad beats, gee, where do you feel like you are never going to win again?
Well, that's one thing that my cousin Dave, he does some modelling, like he's been just drumming that into me for the last 18 months. It's just variance. It's just variance. These don't fall in a nice, neat. The winners don't fall in a nice, neat pattern. Like sometimes you'll have a glut of them, and then sometimes you'll have an absolute drought of them. They don't fall in any particular order. And once you can deal with that, and you know that that's going to happen, as Bot said, if you've got the edge, you just keep hammering away at the edge, and don't look at it on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis. You look at it at the end of the year and say, right, well, no, yeah, that's right, we made 10%. Yeah. And that's just the mindset you got to have.
And the thing about doing it all your own prices and all that sort of stuff is that sometimes you make mistakes and the market's right and it steers you in the right direction. But sometimes the market's full of misinformation. Yeah. And it's not right. So you've sort of got to work your way at deciding how you're going to handle that. You know, sometimes you have to cop the market signals and sometimes you don't. Like I was pretty determined in that Tom Melbourne race that I was not going to be swayed by how well back that horse was likely to be. I thought I had really good reasons for market. So I'm just saying that's an example. Yeah. But whereas in another race we can talk about now on Saturday, I thought there was a really good edge in the race that Prussian Vixen won. I thought there were 3 clear chances: Prussian Vixen, Vorspiel, and Call Me Curtis. There was a number of horses in that race that were well in the market that I didn't like. Now, one of the horses that I sort of went past pretty quickly because he's a bit hit and miss was Stoker. And as soon as he was heavily backed, I had a race there that I thought I had a really good edge in, so I had a bit of fat. And even though I'd marked him a much longer price than what I would have had to take if I wanted to back him, as soon as there was support for that horse, I thought, I have missed this horse. He has got the talent to win this race. Right now, I believe the only way I can lose on this race is not backing Stoker. So I did have something on Stoker just to chop out.
Pay to fine.
Pay to fine.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have sat there holding the baby. Yeah, that's what I've got to improve. I would have sat there holding the baby. And if Stoker had got on there on the line, I would have gone.
Walling, yeah.
Like you said with Nevis the week before, you know. Yeah. Same sort of thing. You're up in an hour and then it's money for it, and you're saying, oh, okay, it's going to win this race. Yeah, and I'm not on it. At least you pay the fine. And
for me, the threshold is: do I think I've got like in that particular race? The example I'm saying, I thought I had 3 winning chances. I really wasn't concerned about any other horse in the race, but the market told me there was another live runner here. So, in that situation, if there had been 3 other runners that were scary, I would have been less inclined to, do something.
Tony McAvoy, that horse.
Yeah. Which is he's a trainer that I have.
He's the new Mick Kent.
Yeah.
Mick Kent now he's now back at all these winners and everything, and Tony McAvoy's gone with all these funny preps and
doesn't fit. Big memory. Big memory is an amazing run there on Saturday. An amazing run off a 1600 metre race. Like it's, I don't lose me. I don't know what to say about it. You know? So anyway, What else have we got here? Anything else?
Did you want to mention about those Imperial
I'm
odds?
saying the boys on the Sydney Punter show did a thing about framing a market and stuff, and Mark mentioned he used the Imperial odds, and I've copied a lot of my stuff off Mark. I would encourage anyone that's doing their own markets to go back and look at the original version of Imperial odds. You know, even money, 10 to 9, 5 to 4, 6 to 4, 7 to 4, 2 to 1. Before all the other little bits and pieces got added in, like 11 to 8, 13 to 8, 15 to 8, all them, they're all, you know, later add-ons. And because when you do a race, if you've got a horse like a clear length and maps well, it's a clear length clear of the field, depending on the field size and the density of the race, it's really a 6 to 4, 2 to 1 chance. Okay, if it's a length clear of the second chance, maybe there's 2 horses at that level, they're set on the 7 to 2 line. Do you know what I mean?
I know someone who does it for me, just sends out a sheet exactly like that.
Yeah.
First line, this horse, second line, third line, 1 or 2 horses on each line.
Yeah.
And that's what he sends out.
So the gap between the runs and the ranking of them, because I do that, I have, you know, this is A, this is B, there's 3 horses at C or whatever, but I use the gaps between them to match the Imperial
prices,
you know what I mean? Whereas things like 260, 270, they're meaningless.
Yeah,
they mean nothing.
It is.
Whereas those Imperial odds, those gaps were designed for a reason and they fit really well with the margins.
What's the gap again? Evens?
So if it's one full length, so the thing is, DK, you have to start with the favourite. You have to get the price of the favourite right. So, but then if there's a length gap to the second horse, I'm saying it's 3 rolls of the old Imperial board. If it's one length.
1 length, 3 rolls. Oh,
yeah. So,
and the thing with those rolls, and I don't know whether DK might agree or disagree with me here. You're right, plus those Imperial odds are great for that factor, but I think the little bits that were put in between was just for the bookies to reach to try and find what the actual price point of a horse is before they've got, no, that's enough, we'll take the price. Because, well, we saw it in Sydney on Saturday with Sportsbet doing the promotion with being the top odds every favourite there on the day, and there was $1.72 and $1.83, all bits and bobs like this to make sure that they were top of the ground. So they're just completely irrelevant prices. And even now you see the 205, the 210, 250.
5 cents. You're paranoid about it at the time, but compared to $8 to $8.50, to $2 to $2.50. I know that the margin's a bit different, but it's still 50 cents.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Anything else, boys, before we have a look at the week ahead?
I was going to ring Dallas about this, but we're on the show. You can watch the show and find it out, I suppose. The boys had a discussion about how bereft the media market is and criticising the big stables and stuff like that, and they were particularly talking about the Blue Jackets with Godolphin. But what I find funny is Matt Stewart, who's a journalist I've had a bit of criticism to offer about him, but he has a go at times. So he's been
castigated.
He has been critical of the Blue Jackets, and the fucking rest of the media absolutely torture him about it. Like honestly, Matt, stick with it. Like you're just telling the truth. They aren't getting their horses right.
At the time, of course, same what I did with Brian Gentle. You know, he was none for 93, and I said, when's his other bloke going to play? So he went 1 for 94. Well, same with Matt. The week he sort of said, is there just, this joint going to train a big winner in Melbourne? They come out and won a race on the Saturday, Of course it's happened. There's nothing sure that when you open your mouth, that'll happen. But still,
all the other media jumping on him, honestly, I just think they should be backing their fellow journalists when they're prepared to criticise someone with a high profile.
So I
mean, especially if it's warranted, you know what I mean? He's making a very fair point there, I think. Anyway, good on you, Matt.
And one issue, boys. Speaking of people that aren't probably doing that great a job, we've had the terrible, terrible situation out there at Buller with Bruce Ackers, who was a little picnic trainer a while ago, hasn't had a runner for 5 years or something. But I think what the RSPCA have done leaves a fair bit to be desired. And the first one on the front foot to try and ban jumps racing and do this and that, but when someone else has rang in with serious concerns about what was happening at the joint, they've managed to just drive past the front gate and saw one horse apparently and then continued on the way, and then they said, well, it's because we didn't have the police with us. Well, I'm tipping if the RSPCA had rang the police, even if you had to sit there for 3/4 of an hour, they would have sent someone out there eventually.
Yeah. And, I think it stemmed, it said in the media that Bruce has probably got mental illness.
Yeah.
You know, so that'd be contributing. But I mean, the uplifting thing was, and I hope it gets as much coverage, was Steve Smiley from Cloud9, Troy Corson's guys, and the Freedman trucks turning up there to
just rescue
those
get them
horses.
in.
But you know, we see all the rubbish about this, you know. We get rubbished a lot, but that was just fantastic.
And it was an absolute free kick for the animal liberationists and all this, and it's just
sad. No,
it's
sad.
terribly sad, and I'm just bitterly disappointed in the RSPCA who don't mind having a swipe when it's going their way, but when it's going the other way, then it's just bureaucracy and ask.
They spend too much time worrying about nonsense things like whip rules and things like that. And here's a situation where they really should have been involved, and they're bereft in their duties, and they're like, you know, absolute full credit to those trainers who obviously really love horses and couldn't stand to see horses in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what the RSPCA should be about, but they're not.
But
they've got to check. I mean, owners as well. I mean, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
You could have the old lady in the house, you know, getting dementia, and she's got 10 cats.
Yeah.
She forgets to feed them or something. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but you know, and they turn up and the joints cut. You know, same thing. You know, I mean, it'd be the RSPCA. But it's not just the animals. You've got to be the owners and things like that. You know, be wary when this can happen.
And also, at least, but the difference between I found by listening to the interview that Michael Falgate did this morning, at least Racing Victoria were prepared to put up their hand and say, he had form. The last stable inspection there was July 2014, which is like everyone would agree that that's for someone with form. That's too long a gap for a joint like that going unpoliced. But at least they were prepared to put their hand up and say, you know what? Look, we probably do have to do more regular. Especially for the outlaw joints, regular stable updates, you just go through. You've only got to be there for 20 minutes after and walk through the joint, make sure the joint's not falling down.
Yeah.
But for them, the RSPCA to come out and said, this has been red flagged and we didn't have police and we don't work on Sunday.
Stop wasting your time on fucking whip rules.
The other thing
is,
like
that. Just get and do your job. Like there's puppy farms all over the country. Like the RSPCA shouldn't have another issue on their agenda until they sort that sort of thing out, where these poor innocent creatures are suffering in extraordinary conditions, so some low bludger can make a few dollars.
So does that mean that we should just run all the jumps racing on a Sunday when the RSPCA don't work? Because I've dealt with livestock my whole life. Everyone in the industry is out there dealing with animals. The whole industry doesn't get Sundays off because they still need to be fed and watered. So it's a shocking situation. Hopefully, like what's happened with the greyhound industry with the live baiting, something comes of it and there can be a bit of an upswing.
Like it's terrible for everyone when a horse, you know, has a fall and has to be put down. But those horses are incredibly well looked after, and the RSPCA has got no business in jumps racing and that sort of thing. Anyway,
week ahead, boys.
but no, hang on. What about the punters, Jumpy? What about the punters?
You've got something for the punters.
I don't know. What have we got? DK, we got a tip for him or what?
Oh, I've got a tip. Well, Valstar was. I think he could do anything. An upcoming tip. Well, they're all in today. I mean, Atlantic Road was in today. That was good. They served up $1.10 in. I suppose it's one. We're sitting here. Another one
Can
of ours.
we check, Jumpy?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Black Team was another one we backed with a big flashing light. It was in today.
So whichever one doesn't win out of Black Team and Torelli.
Yeah, which one doesn't win out of Black Team and Torelli? That's right. Follow them.
There's your good maiden coming in. And I would say...
Valstar might be in Hong Kong by now. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, everyone would have been all over that, so I don't know what's happened there.
And on Sunday, it was a pretty low race, but Burton was particularly impressive. It's a horse that's ready to go through his grades.
Yeah, that was
Blinkers on, Zabeel, first time any intent, and it just...
Brain, 11 lengths.
Raced away.
Was it in the first?
Yeah.
This is live, people.
Yeah.
No, Atlantic Roll got second. Ran second. It was $1.16 into $1.12, and got beat by Sweet Taste for D.
Sweet Taste, yeah.
Well, there's a tip for the punters.
Would have got out sprinter. Wouldn't have been a test.
Yeah.
4-horse field, 5-horse field. Tipping them. It's put a barrier trial and been out sprinting.
There's a bloke who is riding real well at the minute. Buckets Moore is going here, there, and everywhere. He's working really hard, and he's got his eye in at the minute. So he's one that definitely gets to go.
He's working hard. So. Corstons, but there'd been money around for that Sweet Taste, and he's owned by
Race 2
Zinetti, I reckon, owns it.
And race 2 was taken out by Jocasta again for D Moore and LT Corstons, which was 860 best tote.
Of the 1,000 metre race, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake. We warned you about the. We get a little bit of warning.
Gotta be careful. There was a bit out of that punt club in Gemelina
In
race.
race 3.
They haven't run race 3.
Oh, I haven't run race 3.
Oh, that's a
We're going to have a look at that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Week ahead, guys. We've got
That's it.
pods. You'll be doing the full set, and there'll
Oh
be
yeah,
the
so see you tomorrow. There will be no interim because there's a bit of potential that we're going to have a fair bit of rain tomorrow. So I want to wait and see how many scratchings we get, and then after scratchings time,
Who knows?
how many more we're going to get.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows what we'll end up with? But
Deductions, early market deductions.
Yeah.
Thursday we've got
that one day.
Thursday we've got Titan during the day, and the first full meeting under lights out at racing.com
6 p.m. start.
Yeah, that'll be good. Trying to battle the
That'll
traffic.
be about 15 degrees too out there. Where's the bookies ring, Chuck?
Outside. So I'll be there trying to make sure that the new TV boards don't blow over, and I'll be there in about 3 jackets because it'll be about -2.
You better leave about midday.
Yeah, and I'll have to get there for the dawn service. Friday we've got Royal Donald and Cranbourne in the evening.
Good.
Then Saturday we've got back at Sandown again.
We've got a country meeting.
I'm off to Bendigo on,
Saturday.
and we may or may not complete the picnic season on Saturday. There is still a problem with the track at Woolamai, but it's meant to be the last meeting of the season. And then we're back at racing.com Park on Sunday. So there's plenty there. There'll be plenty for DK and Potts, and
two packing of meetings is good. Good trainers go there.
Yeah.
good horses and the good riders.
Bendigo, hopefully find something.
Yeah, and so there's quite a bit happening. And just to close, guys, I just want to thank everyone. I've had a pretty tough week or two. My father passed away weekend before last, and basically the only way I could at that stage that I could communicate with Potts is I pop something in the chat room, and there's something that everyone should be jumping on board, because that's what I learned that Saturday was the quality of people in the chat room. Was just everyone across the industry who I've known to a man has got in touch with me and sent their condolences and their regards, and means an absolute hell of a lot to myself and the whole family. It's made a really testing time much easier. And there's a few blokes like Cliff and MT and a few there, but in the chat room, Benicio and those sort of guys. So thank them, and Rexy. And a real special mention to Nick Meredith. He sent me a couple of messages. He's just a champion bloke, and I just want to thank everyone for their support. Yep. So thanks very much for that, everyone. And hopefully, now that all that's out of the way, we can get back into some normality, which we should now, because we'll be back on the synthetic circuit at Geelong and whatnot, which means that...
The other thing about the chat room, Juppy, that I just missed at the time, but in hindsight, you know, our subscribers had an okay day at Mornington. It was all right.
Yeah.
We won 10 units. But the last race in Sydney, Johnny Walter has tipped the winner at 100 to 1 with units on it.
With units on?
With units on.
Oh.
It might have been 1, but at 100 to 1, that'll do.
Too many.
Well done, JW.
So hopefully someone, and it appears not too many had it in the tournament. Boys, we're lucky we're getting that rebuy next week because we're going to need it.
Yep.
So hopefully we can finally do something in the tournament and come up with something, because it's been a tough road so far. But so make sure, jump on board. The DK and Pot set, still winning at 22%, even though a bit of a strip on Sunday at Ballarat, still making plenty of money. The full set for Wednesday and Saturday, you can jump on and grab that.
We had a pretty good week last week.
Yeah.
Won at all the meetings last week, and we're back to about 6% profit on turnover for the year. So.
And then we've still got Warren in the Mountain Garden. Make sure you get both, especially with the second day of the championships, grab both sets, come in the chat room. Hopefully Bendigo might even have time to talk to a few people in the chat room pods. That'll be a real treat. Alright guys, well until next time, good luck and good punting. We'll see you soon.